My beloved child, stop scrolling and listen with a calm heart, because what you are about to hear is not a message of fear. It is a revelation about a hidden decision, a desperate agreement, and the truth behind a situation that appeared darker than it truly was. Only moments ago, something was set into motion. A conversation took place behind closed doors. A name was mentioned. A payment was discussed. A man agreed to carry out a task connected to you. Yet before your heart begins to race, heaven asks you to remain still, because the unfinished sentence you fear is not the ending that has been written for you. Pause here for a moment. There is a reason these words reached you now and not yesterday, not tomorrow, but at this exact point in your journey. You have sensed a strange shift around your soulmate. Their energy has felt distant, heavy, almost divided. One moment, you could feel their heart moving toward you, and the next, it seemed as though an invisible wall had risen between you. You wondered whether they had changed their mind. You questioned whether someone else had entered their life. You may even have felt that the connection was being quietly erased without an explanation. But what happened 15 minutes ago was not the beginning of this story. It was the result of pressure that had been building for longer than you know. Your soulmate has been struggling with something they have not known how to tell you. They have been carrying the weight of other people's voices, old fears, family expectations, private regrets, and the consequences of choices they made before they understood the depth of what they felt for you. There has been a battle inside them between love and control. Love wanted them to move closer. Fear wanted them to create distance. Their soul recognized you, but their wounded mind kept searching for a way to escape the intent. But with you, those habits began to fail. You saw beneath their carefully chosen words. You noticed what they did not say. You felt their emotions even when they pretended to be unaffected. And the closer their soul moved toward yours, the more their secrets began to feel exposed. They could no longer hide from themselves in your presence. That is where the hidden agreement began. A few days ago, someone noticed the change in your soulmate. This person watched the way your soulmate became quiet whenever your name came up. They saw the nervous movement in their hands. They recognized the sudden defensiveness, the strange sadness, and the unmistakable longing that appeared whenever someone asked whether they still thought about you. At first, this person said nothing. They simply observed. But observation slowly turned into interference. They began placing doubts in your soulmate's mind. They asked questions that sounded caring but carried another intention. Are you certain this person is right for you? What if you are imagining the connection? What if they have already moved on? What if going back makes you look weak? Each question was a seed, and your soulmate, already emotionally vulnerable, allowed some of those seeds to take root. Yet something unexpected happened. The more they tried to convince your soulmate to forget you, the more your soulmate remembered. Memories rose without warning. The sound of your voice. A moment when you showed kindness without asking for anything in return. The way you looked at them when they felt invisible to the rest of the world. A conversation that seemed ordinary at the time but later became precious. Your soulmate began replaying everything, searching for proof that the connection had been false, but every memory revealed the opposite. That is when the person interfering realized that doubt alone would not be enough. They needed a stronger plan. My child, remain calm, because this is where the story becomes more complicated. The man who was hired was not chosen to harm your body. He was hired to interfere with something tied to your name, your connection, and the future your soulmate secretly imagined with you. The unfinished word that has been echoing in your mind is not life. It is something else. Something that can still be painful, something intended to create separation, but something heaven can expose and reverse. The man was hired to end your communication before it could begin again. He was given information. He was shown pieces of your story without the full truth. He was told that your presence was creating confusion and emotional instability. He was asked to contact someone, deliver a message, remove an opportunity, or create the impression that a door had permanently closed. The plan was designed to make you believe your soulmate had chosen another path, while making your soulmate believe you no longer cared. It was not a plan born from strength. It was born from panic. Your soulmate agreed to it in a moment when fear spoke louder than love. 15 minutes ago, they sat in a place where the lighting was low and the atmosphere felt heavier than usual. Their phone rested in front of them. Their heart was pounding, though they tried not to show it. Across from them was a man who spoke in a calm, businesslike voice. He did not know the emotional history behind what he had been asked to do. To him, it was simply a task. A message to deliver. A contact to interrupt. A misunderstanding to create. But to your soulmate, it was the most painful decision they had made in a long time. When the man asked for final confirmation, your soulmate hesitated. Their fingers froze above the screen. For one brief second, your face appeared in their mind. Not as you are today, but as you were during a moment when you trusted them completely. They remembered the softness in your eyes. They remembered a promise that may never have been spoken aloud but was still felt between you. They remembered how safe your presence once made them feel. The man asked again, "Do you want me to go ahead?" Your soulmate whispered yes. But the moment the word left their mouth, something inside them broke. They expected relief. Instead, they felt grief. They expected the tension to leave their body. Instead, their chest tightened. The room suddenly felt too small. Their decision, which had seemed reasonable while others were influencing them, now felt like a betrayal of their own heart. They realized that they were not ending confusion. They were creating a wound. What they did not know was that heaven had already placed an interruption in the plan. The man they hired was not as disconnected from the situation as everyone assumed. While reviewing the details, he noticed something inconsistent. A date did not match. A statement about you contradicted another statement. The version of the story he had been given appeared carefully constructed, but not completely truthful. He had carried out similar tasks before, delivering messages, managing uncomfortable conversations, helping people close chapters they were too afraid to close themselves, but this situation felt different. Something about your name made him pause. He had heard it before. Not directly from you, and not in the way you might expect. Your name had been mentioned by someone connected to his past, someone who once described you as a person who helped them during a difficult time. Perhaps it was through an act you barely remember. A conversation. A small kindness. A moment when you defended someone who could not defend themselves. You did not know that your action would travel through other lives and return to you at the precise moment someone was being paid to misrepresent your heart. But nothing done in genuine love is ever lost. The man looked again at the instructions. He noticed that the goal was not simply to create distance. The goal was to make both of you blame each other. Whoever influenced your soulmate understood that separation alone might not be permanent. They needed resentment. They needed embarrassment. They needed each of you to believe the other had acted without compassion. That was the true darkness inside the agreement. It was not an agreement to destroy you physically. It was an agreement to destroy trust. And trust, my child, is often the bridge destiny uses to reconnect two hearts. The plan required 3 steps. The first was to block an opportunity for communication. The second was to introduce a false explanation. The third was to make the separation look like your soulmate's final, deliberate choice. If all 3 steps succeeded, you would be left believing there was nothing left to save. But the first step has already begun to fail. The man did not send the message when he was supposed to. Instead, he asked your soulmate a question no one expected. Does this person know the whole truth? The room became silent. Your soulmate looked away. They tried to answer, but no words came. The person who had helped arrange the deal quickly interrupted and said the truth no longer mattered. They insisted that the only goal was to move forward. They reminded your soulmate of the embarrassment they might face if they changed their mind. They spoke about pride, reputation, family judgment, consequences. In that moment, everything they had buried came to the surface. They realized you had been trying to understand a story while missing its most important pages. You had blamed yourself for changes you did not cause. You had questioned your worth because of silence that had nothing to do with your value. You had tried to decode mixed signals created by someone who loved you but feared the cost of admitting it. Your soulmate had never told you how much pressure surrounded them. They had never told you about the conversation in which someone close to them warned that choosing you would change everything. They had never revealed the promise they made years ago, a promise that now conflicted with their heart. They had never admitted how deeply your absence affected them. And they certainly never told you that several times, they had typed a message to you, stared at it for minutes, and deleted it because they feared what would happen if you responded with love. Love was not what they feared losing. Love was what they feared being unable to resist. The agreement made 15 minutes ago was their final attempt to silence a connection they had failed to silence within themselves. But heaven does not expose hidden things to frighten you. Heaven reveals them so you can stop carrying blame that was never yours. You have wondered whether you were too much, too emotional, too patient, too hopeful. You questioned whether your intuition was misleading you. You felt the connection strongly, yet the physical reality appeared to contradict it. One day you felt certain something remained unfinished, and the next you told yourself you were foolish for believing. You were not foolish. You were sensing the conflict inside your soulmate. But hear this clearly. Sensing someone's love does not mean you must accept their harmful choices. Compassion does not require you to abandon your boundaries. Understanding their fear does not erase the impact of their silence. Heaven is not asking you to chase, beg, or prove your worth. This revelation is not permission for anyone to manipulate your emotions. It is an invitation to see the truth without surrendering your peace. Your soulmate must face what they have done. And that moment is closer than they realize. After the man asked whether you knew the truth, your soulmate stood up from the table. They walked a few steps away, pretending they needed air. But in reality, they were trying to escape the sound of their own conscience. Their hands trembled as they unlocked their phone. They opened your contact. For several seconds, they stared at your name. Your picture may still be there, or perhaps it has been removed. But your presence remains connected to memories they have not been able to erase. They began typing. I need to tell you something. Then they stopped. Behind them, the person who arranged the agreement approached and warned them not to make an emotional decision. This person reminded your soulmate how long it had taken to create distance. They said contacting you would ruin everything. They insisted that once the man completed the task, both of you would finally be forced to move on. Your soulmate looked down at the unfinished message. Then something happened that changed the atmosphere completely. Their phone rang. The name on the screen shocked everyone in the room. It was someone your soulmate had not spoken to in months. Someone who knew the original truth. Someone who had witnessed the beginning of your connection and understood why your soulmate pulled away. This person had stayed silent for a long time, believing it was not their place to interfere. But earlier that day, they experienced a sudden, overwhelming urge to reach out. They did not know about the meeting. They did not know about the man. They did not know a hidden agreement was being made. Yet their timing was exact. When your soulmate answered, the voice on the other end did not begin with a greeting. It began with a warning. Before you do anything permanent, you need to know what I discovered. The person who arranged the deal immediately became nervous. Your soulmate turned away and lowered their voice. What are you talking about? The caller revealed that something your soulmate had believed about you was false. A message they thought came from you had not come from you. A statement repeated by someone close to them had been altered. A moment they interpreted as rejection had been deliberately presented without context. Your soulmate's face changed. The agreement was built on a lie. The person who arranged everything attempted to leave the room, but your soulmate stopped them. For the first time, fear was no longer controlling your soulmate. Anger was rising, not reckless anger, but the sharp pain of realizing they had been manipulated into hurting someone they loved. They asked one question. Who gave you the original message? No one answered. The silence revealed more than words could. My child, the person interfering did not necessarily hate you. Their motive was more complicated. They feared what your return would change. They feared losing influence over your soulmate. They feared old secrets being exposed. They feared that if your soulmate chose love freely, certain relationships, agreements, and expectations would no longer hold power. You represented truth. And truth threatens every structure built on control. This is why you may have felt resistance without understanding its source. You thought the obstacle was timing, distance, or uncertainty. But beneath those visible issues was a deeper conflict. Your connection was forcing people to confront roles they had grown comfortable playing. Someone had become accustomed to making decisions for your soulmate. Someone believed they knew what was best. Someone had benefited from your soulmate's emotional dependence. Your presence reminded your soulmate that they had a voice of their own. That is why the agreement had to happen quickly. The person influencing them sensed your soulmate was becoming stronger. They knew another honest conversation with you could break the illusion. They knew the truth might reconnect what manipulation had separated. So they rushed. 15 minutes ago, they believed they had won. But now, the man has not completed the task. The caller is revealing missing details. Your soulmate is questioning every story they were told. And the person who designed the plan is realizing that their own words may expose them. Still, the greatest revelation has not yet occurred. Because the man who was hired has something in his possession that no one else in the room knows about. Before arriving at the meeting, he received a forwarded file. It contained screenshots, dates, and fragments of conversations connected to you. He was supposed to use them to build a convincing final message. But one screenshot was accidentally included. It was not meant for him to see. In that screenshot, your soulmate's name appeared beside a private conversation between two other people. The conversation revealed that the interference began much earlier than anyone admitted. It showed that someone had been watching your connection develop and planning how to separate you before your soulmate ever pulled away. It showed that certain misunderstandings were not accidental. Meetings had been arranged. Information had been withheld. Emotional pressure had been carefully applied. And at the bottom of the screenshot was a sentence that changed everything. Once they stop trusting each other, we can control what happens next. The man read that sentence twice. He had not yet shown it to your soulmate. But he was about to. Before he could speak, the person who arranged the agreement reached for his phone. The man pulled it back. "What are you hiding?" your soulmate asked. The person's calm expression disappeared. They accused the man of misunderstanding the situation. They said the screenshot was taken out of context. They insisted it had nothing to do with you. But your soulmate had heard enough. They demanded to see the screen. At that exact moment, the man's phone received another message, from an unknown number. It contained only 7 words. "Do not show them. You'll regret it." The room fell silent. The man stared at the message. Your soulmate stared at him. The person who arranged the meeting slowly stepped backward. And then the lights went out. For several seconds, no one moved. In the darkness, a chair scraped against the floor. Footsteps rushed toward the exit. A door opened and slammed shut. Your soulmate called out, demanding to know who had left. The man turned on the light from his phone, illuminating only part of the room. One person was gone. But something had been left behind on the table. A second phone. Your soulmate recognized it immediately. It belonged to the person who had spent weeks pretending to protect them. The screen was still unlocked. A conversation was open. Your name appeared several times. Your soulmate reached for it, but the man stopped them for one moment. Before you read this, he said, you need to understand that the deal you hired me to complete was never your idea. Your soulmate froze. The man placed both phones side by side. On one screen was the warning telling him not to reveal the truth. On the other was a series of messages showing exactly how your soulmate had been guided, pressured, and emotionally cornered into making the agreement. But there was one final message at the bottom, sent only minutes before the meeting began. It did not come from the person who had just fled. It came from someone your soulmate trusted even more. Someone whose involvement had never been suspected. Someone who had been speaking kindly about you in public while secretly encouraging the plan in private. Your soulmate whispered the sender's name. The man looked toward the door. And then your soulmate opened the final message, the one that revealed what the hired man was truly supposed to end before sunrise.